looks like you have a call coming in.
Nope, we're good.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll get mine going. Let's see. Kind of give me a test on
Test.
Okay, I think we have.
I know I have a low voice or a soft voice.
So I think I'll bump you up a little bit there, so I'll hear you a little bit better. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're talking with Crissy Knibbe here with the Veterans program that we're putting together here on News Talk KVEL and Evans Family Media overall. And Crissy, tell me a little bit about yourself, a little introduction.
Okay. I'm Crissy Knibbe, and I am the local realtor. I also own Home Entertainment Center, lived in the Basin since 1997. When I moved here, it felt like home to me. I grew up in Vegas and some of my younger years in Michigan, and Vernal was just kind of the best of both worlds. So,
Sounds good.
never wanted to leave since then, so I call Vernal home. I was born in 1970, and so I'm one of the elders. I don't like it though.
Oh, no.
Just kidding. So yeah, I've been here since 97, so 22 years?
24.
24 years.
Yeah.
Oh, see?
Yep.
That's almost half my life.
So you are a veteran.
I am.
So, what branch did you serve in?
I was in the Air Force, and I enlisted in 1988. So as soon as I graduated high school, I actually did an early enrollment. So I enrolled in January of 98, and then ended up going to basic training in August.
Where'd you go for basic training?
Oh, Texas, hot in August.
Yeah.
We had a lot of red flag days. So, and then after basic training, I had my AIT training, which is your tech school training. That was also partly in Texas. My first base. I started off. So when I tested, when you enlist, you test. It's called an ASVAB test, and what that test does is tell you where your strengths and weaknesses are, and they present you with jobs that you would excel at. My jobs that I would excel at were I could have to pick of the top two, which is an air traffic controller or a medical lab technician. And so I really, air traffic controlling didn't really interest me. No, not at all. And but growing up, I did want to find a cure for cancer. Ironically, I wanted to be a scientist. So I went into the medical field, and ultimately ended up being a rescue medic. So, I was a lab tech too, but had that rescue medic training as well. So.
Sounds good. You said right out of high school you decided, what spurred you on to go into the military that early?
Well, it's kind of a, family story. 18, I didn't really want to go to school for, 4 more years just yet. And I just didn't want to live at home anymore. My boyfriend at the time, he was a junior in college already, and he's like, well, marry me. And I'm like, I don't want to get married either.
Not ready for that either.
Not ready for that either. So, I went and I spoke with a couple recruitment people, and I chose the Air Force. The Air Force wasn't quite as, how like you see in the movies, you got the Marines and the Army, and I wanted I wanted to represent the blue.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I've got blue eyes, why not?
Exactly.
There's a reason for it.
So now you were in Texas for your boot camp, is that what it was?
Yep.
And then your AIT there as well.
Yep. And then the second phase of AIT, I went up to Offutt, Nebraska, the middle of the winter. And
Couldn't do opposites, huh?
nope. So yeah, it was. We had a major snowstorm, and this was a funny story. I was up for a rank increase, and yeah, and anyways, so in the middle of this snowstorm, the hospital was off base, and so we didn't have a car. I didn't have a car, so we relied on the taxis there. The taxis weren't running. I couldn't get a hold of my commanding officer. I couldn't get a hold of, anybody to let them know I was trapped in our dorm room. And so I was considered AWOL. So got knocked down a rank and did a week in this rehabilitation, where you have to stand in a line and yell at the top of your lungs and do push-ups and, basically remediation. Because of Mother Nature.
Yeah. Not a whole lot of understanding on the part of the military in that instance.
No, if you're AWOL, they don't care what your reasoning is.
Should have got out of the snowshoes and headed that way.
Well,
I
I tried to, but I'm not even kidding you. It was like 3 feet deep. It was one of the worst storms Nebraska had in years, from what I've been told. And so there was a couple of us that we got the same punishment. And I'm like, well, we're both our alibis. We've got tons of people in the dorm rooms that seen us here. Well, how much trouble could we get in?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, I guess. So it was a learning lesson. And actually, you know how they say things happen for a reason. So these sergeants and tech sergeants, and they're like drill instructors, kind of. They make you have your toes on this yellow line, and make you speak loud, because I have a soft voice. And when I became a mother, that yellow line became very forefront in my mind on getting my kids in line. It's like, okay, I've had enough.
You learn to speak out a little.
Yep. So I think things happen for a reason, and so I kind of laugh at it now, but at the time, it's kind of disheartening. You lost a rank, and so.
Probably takes a little while to get that back, right?
Yeah, it does. And in the Air Force, you don't rank up as fast as in other branches. So like if you're in infantry or something more combative than my field, you rank up faster in other and ranks determine your pay,
Right,
so,
exactly. E this, E that.
Yep. So when I got out, I was an E4 sergeant, and I was still making, and this was back, when I got out of active duty, I think I was making $1,200 a month.
That's probably in the 90s?
Yeah, that was in the 90s. Yeah.
Not great, but not real bad.
No,
for the 90s.
but you get military housing. You get depending on if you're married or single. You get certain subsidies and stuff like that. Military housing, you get a portion paid for. If you have a spouse, children, you get allowances. So it wasn't bad. We made it.
Sounds good. So now you finished up your basic training and whatnot. So now, did you end up being deployed? Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I did. Before I was deployed, I was stationed at Andrews Air Force Base, which is in Silver Spring, Maryland, which is the presidential Air Force Base. That's where Air Force One is. And while I was there, I don't know if you remember the POW, Terry. He was an American journalist that was held for like 9 years.
Oh, it sounds familiar. Yeah.
So I took care of him when he came home.
Oh, really? With your medical training, then you took care of him.
Yeah. And just hearing his stories, you know, I wanted to work extra shifts just so I could sit and listen and talk with him, and it was absolutely incredible. I mean, he was nothing but a bag of bones when he came home, and was still chipper and still upbeat, and I know that deep down, I mean, I know he was glad to be home, but deep down, I know he had a mess to deal with, you know, and dealing with the trauma and dealing with the psychological aspects.
After 9 years.
After 9 years, you know, and some of this is part of the reason why we started Uintah Basin area veterans, because, you know, we wanted to provide some kind of camaraderie and be able to talk to each other and relate to each other, where, you know, sometimes your family members are the closest people to you, but they just can't relate on that, you know, on certain issues unless they've been there. Yeah. And so, and some things, they just come up years later. Like with this thing with Afghanistan that's happened over the last few weeks, and the casualties and the innocents, it actually put me in a little bit of a funk, because, and I never, you know, considered myself ever having PTSD or any kind of regrets or emotional things from the military, but them exiting, mass exiting Afghanistan, it really, it hit home, and I was sad, and I was mad, and I had a slew of emotions, and that's when I met with Wes, and we decided that we were going to do something about this, because if I can get that in here, that's good.
Okay. We've got, you know, for this as well. So yeah, I just noticed that was black on there. So
yeah, thanks.
anyway.
I don't know if they got all that, but it's fine. I can redo it another day too.
Okay.
So
you were in England. You booked it back to your flat.
Yeah, booked it back. Checked in. Then we had one of the things is that Britain is famous for is I don't know if I can say this on air, but shit in a shingle. Or shit on a shingle. And, you know, it's baked beans on toast. And I don't like beans. Oh. And I had a hard time with Britain food. It just, I longed for a McDonald's hamburger. And you know, when you're part of the Royal Air Force Base, you know, basically you're eating what the Britons eat, and I lost some weight. Yeah. Well, I did get a taste for the lamb gyros, though. They have incredible lamb gyros, and fish and chips too. But I don't really like a lot of deep fried food. So, you know, I had to keep my curly figure. So, it was an experience. And actually, when we were leaving Andrews Air Force Base to get deployed, I made it on the cover of Stars and Stripes magazine. Oh, really? I don't know, or newspaper. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I have.
I am standing on the stairs going up to the door of the airplane, turning around, waving.
Oh, really? That's why they decided to put on the cover, huh?
Yeah, that's when they snapped the picture of it, and well, they gave me a heads up ahead of time and said, "Hey, when you get to the middle of the stairs, turn around and wave." like, okay,
I can do that.
bye. See you when I see you.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. And then when I got back, was, you know, we got, that was one of the things about going overseas too that not a lot of people are prepared for was the series of vaccinations.
Oh.
You're lined up with your sleeve up going 10 in a row.
I understand that. I spent a couple years in Taiwan in the 70s, and they had some pretty intense shots for that, too.
There's a couple, you get them all done, and then they tell you go do 50 push-ups.
Yeah, your arms are
and so I think it was the typhoid one, which was the doozy, anyways, but that one, So they make you do push-ups after that.
That probably worked it in. Maybe that helped in the long
Yeah, that's
haul.
what they said. It's supposed to help work it in, and then it's supposed to kind of ease the stiffness. Once it starts.
It probably moves the stuff through the system, like saying you get your muscles back to. So that sounds fair.
Yeah. So, and then after we got that, the units and stuff set up in the UK, came back to the States. We integrated back into Andrews. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, but.
All right. So Arlington area.
Yep. So, like within the first few days of being home, drove down the road to go get. I drove on the right side, going to a Pizza Hut.
Okay.
Got my pizza. Turned left into the side you're supposed to not be on in America.
Turn left into the oncoming traffic, right?
Oh yeah, I learned that quite quickly. I was, seeing headlights coming, and I was like, oh, we're in America. Get over.
Hopefully, no head-on collisions.
No head-on collisions. I just felt really stupid, but. It's part of the integration process. And I mean, even though I wasn't gone for very long,
3 months over there, but still you got.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was
side.
gone for a total of 6 months. So, I mean, even so, the 3 months in England, it was, I don't know, it did something to my brain, as far as the driving and all of that. Just, yeah. Well, it was at nighttime, and when I went to go get a pizza, and, didn't even think about it. Good thing it was at night, so I seen the headlights way ahead of time.
Yeah.
But driving around in DC, it's always busy.
So you spent a while in Virginia and that area for a few years, or?
Yep. So I was there from 91, the end of 89, middle of 1990 until 92, and then my son was born, and then we had a joint spouse assignment in Honolulu, or in Oahu, Hawaii.
That's too bad.
I know. It was, it's super expensive to live there.
I believe that.
So I was stationed at Hickam Air Force Base, and my husband at the time, he was stationed at Schofield Barracks, and they didn't have military housing ready for us yet, so we had to rent an apartment. And for a 2-bedroom townhouse type apartment, it was $1,200 a month. And
this is in the 90s.
And this was in the early 90s.
Yeah,
and milk was like $5 a gallon, and we have a newborn baby, and it was just expensive. But right off our lanai, it was Pearl Harbor, and it was just an absolute beautiful sight to see. The thing is, I never did any of the touristy stuff until the week before I left Hawaii. So I'm like hurrying, trying to
Missouri or whatever.
No, didn't go see anything. I mean, we went to places that normal people don't get to go see, you know. But like Hanauma Bay, I never had a inkling to even go there until before I went.
Better see it before you
Yeah,
go,
I
huh?
better go. I don't know if I'll be back, but so anyways, but yeah, that was a fun experience there. Was there during Hurricane Iniki, and had a tsunami. You know, it was a 6-inch tsunami, but still they prepare the whole island just in case. And Hurricane Iniki completely devastated. What's the one above Oahu? Oh,
I'm not sure what island that is.
yeah. Anyways, I didn't have enough coffee this morning. My brain's
Lanai.
no. It's the one above Oahu. It would be the. I'll think of it probably at the most inopportune time.
It'll hit you, but
anyways,
anyway,
completely
it's up
demolished them. And at the time, we were in military housing by then, and we were living right behind the Dole Plantation. And it really wasn't terrible. I mean, we didn't get hit near as bad. I mean, it was definitely a hurricane, but we didn't get wiped out like Lanai.
So the Dole, where the pineapple's low enough that it didn't bother them too bad.
That was not one of the most fun places to live. It stunk so bad.
Oh, really?
The pineapple.
The plant there, or whatever the.
Yeah, because we were. So you have to get into the military housing units, like you drive past the Dole Plantation and the fields, and then you cut over and come back around and across. And so you have all these fields, and you got rotten pineapples, and that north wind coming
Bringing
through
it right
and
in
bringing
then,
it
huh?
right on through.
Oh,
So we had it wasn't a great smell for a couple years.
So now, what did you do in Hawaii yourself? What
I was
was
a
your-
medic.
A medic.
Yeah, and lab tech. So I have my, I must have run out. And this is where the storage on my phone decided to be too full to record anymore. Sorry about that, you guys. I will keep updating our YouTube channel and our website at ubav.us. Thanks for hanging with us, and we look forward to connecting with our local Uintah Basin area veterans. Don't forget to click subscribe.